Hey, we're on about day 10.
Well, today is June 21st and we left on June 10th. So, yeah, day 11. You got it. And tomorrow morning we will be leaving this amazing campground on the Icefields Parkway. And one of the things I want to do is to show you where these places are. As we started looking at seriously considering coming to, driving to Alaska, etc., we watched a lot of videos, and many of the people would just say, hey, we're at wherever, and assume that people know where that is. And if you're just starting to think about, should I go, what is it, you don't know where they are.
No.
So let us show you. We're going to be talking kind of about, we've already made a video about Banff. This is Icefields Parkway in Jasper. They're three separate things, but they're all together.
Yes.
So let me show you. This is Montana. And basically, Glacier National Park is along in here because we came up 89, which is just the east side of Glacier. And that's where we crossed the border. And
a small border crossing.
And went up to Calgary. And then this is Banff National Park. This is Icefields Parkway. And this is Jasper. And this is all in Alberta, which is right next to British Columbia. All three of those are Canadian national parks. You're going to need a national park pass for each of those.
Yes.
And the national park passes are different than they are in the U.S. because these are Canadian. The first big difference is every person in the car needs one. I don't remember the age, but when we've gone through stations, when we came into Banff, we bought our national park passes. And then when we start up the Icefields Parkway, and I will show you where that station is, all of this is Banff, and it has the town of Banff, town of Lake Louise, tons of hiking, etc. But where this splits, this is a 4-lane road. Where it splits and this becomes a 2-lane road, we had to show our national park pass right here, and they wanted to see it for each of us coming into the Icefields Parkway. And then at Jasper, when we got out, came back in, they wanted to see that pass again, and they want to see it for both people.
The pass was about $75 or $80 for Sharon. It was $10 less for me because I'm 65.
And so we went on and bought the year-long pass because we are here for, actually the day we came in plus the day we're leaving, that's going to be 5 days. So if you're going to be here for 5 days, I think they said that it's worth it to go on and get the year-long pass.
Discovery pass.
And that way, if we come back through here, we can...
There are other national parks.
As well. And that gets us entrance, and also entrance to like museums, etc.
And there are a couple in Banff, one in particular I'm sorry we missed, and that's the Cave and Basin. It had a 4D movie we could have seen.
So anyway, moving on to, there are campgrounds throughout. And I showed this video in the I'm going to show it in here as well. But these campgrounds, you don't have a choice about the firewood.
No.
They are going to charge you $11 a night for a fire.
Campfires.
But they provide firewood.
Yes.
And I mean,
lots.
Our site had a stack of firewood already here, but there's a huge pile. Actually, this campground, this is the Kirksland, maybe. It's a first come campground, and they have two huge piles of firewood here. The first come campgrounds, and there are several, they are outlined campsite. I mean, on the map, they're shown as outlines, and they're shown in red. The reserve campgrounds are in solid green. And the first come, I think all of them have said the maximum length is 25 feet. Our RV is 22 feet,
Yes.
21, 22 feet. And
We've got the van parked in front of it.
it's not necessarily the site is 25 feet, it's the turns. There are some turns in here that if you have a really long RV, you're going to scrape.
Yeah.
And so that's just something to consider if you are driving like a Class A. These campgrounds, or a large Class C, you may not be able to navigate the campground. And
Right.
so, and they're not all the same. This one is gorgeous, and I love that we're here. I went down to the Honeymoon Lake today, got my kayak out for a little bit.
It was an easier input for the kayak.
Oh yeah, it was a great place, but those campsites, I don't even know that we videoed anything there, but
We're much better off here.
this is a beautiful campsite. So let me show you this map of the campgrounds that are on. This shows many in Banff, Icefields Parkway, and Jasper. And then this is available online. I actually found this online before we left home. I don't know the address of that, but if you do some searching, you may be able to find it.
It is,
Let me show you. This end is Banff, and you can see all of the numbers over here. These tell you what mile marker essentially it's at, and then this tells you the amenities. But coming up, there's a first come campground, that's a reservable. And once again, reservable, first come, there's the Honeymoon Lake, and here is the Kirksland. We did pull into this campground yesterday and asked them if we can use the dump station when we leave, and they said yes, that's not a problem. So, the actual list of campgrounds, these are the campgrounds in Banff. You can see that it's labeled over here. Then these are other national parks that are right in this area. And then actually this Jasper, that's also Icefields Parkway. And this tells you how many sites are in each one.
and all of the money, they don't tell how much they are on that page, but all of the money we've mentioned is Canadian.
Yeah, we're in Canada, so all the money. And the campground that we are staying at, it was $27.50 a night. Once again, I think $11 of that is for campfires.
Yes.
So we didn't have a choice about it, so we've had campfire. But the video we're showing you of the Icefields Parkway, we've driven it, almost all of it, twice.
Yes.
From Banff, we drove up almost, not quite halfway. The morning we went to Lake Louise, we
Yes.
started driving Icefields Parkway. And I understand why they say it's the most scenic drive in North America. Folks, the Canadian Rockies here,
They are huge.
you just cannot. This is one of those places that if you ever get a chance, come here. Because there's no way a picture
No.
or a video can give you the perspective of how massive, majestic, incredible these places are. I mean, it's
The Rockies are huge in the States, and they're very lovely, and we love them, but they don't come near to being as massive as they are in Canada.
Yeah, it's just, it takes your breath away. And
And the water.
one of the things that we're not going to be showing you are trails because, well, I think we've walked a couple of trails. But folks, I want to tell you, as we do in many of our videos,
Yes.
the things that you can see from the drive are as impressive as many of the things that you will hike to. Another thing we want to mention is wildlife. And in Banff, we saw a black bear and a grizzly bear, and we talked to you about that. And actually, I think that's where we saw the rabbit, was at the campground there. But on the Icefields Parkway, we have seen, I believe, 3 black bear.
Yes.
We have seen a grizzly, and he was not that far from this campground. We saw him last night, or her. And then we saw a moose at the side of the road, or a young male, and the goats.
Yes.
And there is a place to stop. Glaciers and Goats is what it's called, a pull-off here, just about 2 kilometers. See how I'm picking up the lingo. Maybe 0.3 of a mile or so from here, less than a half a mile from here, this campground. There's a Goats and Glacier pull-out, and that's well worth your time. And yesterday saw the goats from there, but as I was coming back from fishing today, saw that there were goats at the side of the road. And so we went down to a pull-out and were able to see the goats just from the side of the road. And so, folks, this wildlife we're telling you about is what we have seen from the car. And it's been amazing. I mean, granted, we've zoomed in so you can see it better, but I mean, it's just...
And it's a great reminder that when you're out, you really do need the bear spray.
And then as I was fishing today, and as I was paddling in because the wind had really picked up, there was a guy standing there pointing, and I said, "What?" And he said, "There's a moose on the other side of the lake." Well, I'd just been there, so I was really glad that the wind picked up so that I got out of there. But guys, this drive is incredible.
Yes.
It is.
It'll sound like we're repeating ourselves because there are not words to describe how wonderful it is.
I mean, it's when I was fishing on the river, and I honestly think this is a glacial-fed river because it's kind of a greenish tint, so I don't think there are fish there. My understanding is if it's glacier water, that the silt they can't. But that didn't stop me from getting. They can't swim because of their gills, the silt getting in there. But how adept I am at fly fishing, that was just as well. You know? I was giving it a try. But I was standing down there this morning once again, I took a picture of myself on the river, and then I looked at the picture and thought, no, that does not show what I'm seeing here. Because those ice-capped, and that's another thing we want to mention about the Icefields Parkway is glaciers. The map shows glaciers, and granted, you're not going to be right on top of them, but you can definitely see glaciers from the road.
But if you pay a good amount of money, you can walk on top of the glacier.
Yeah, we didn't go and check that out because, once again, this is Alaska on a budget, and we knew our budget was not going to afford us to go and take any kind of a tour out to the glaciers. And honestly, just standing back and seeing it, you get kind of the size, the perspective. Yes. But it's this drive,
unlike anything we've ever seen.
Yeah. And our suggestion is go of a morning.
Yes.
There's less traffic.
The earlier you go, the better.
Yeah, the morning, we had gotten up early to go to Lake Louise and Banff, and it was disappointing. It was overcast, it was cloudy, it was cold, very cold. We were glad we went because we saw a grizzly there, not at Lake Louise, but on the drive up to Lake Louise. But we just came on and started driving the Icefields Parkway,
yes.
And there was so little traffic. Pull-offs were easy, and it was just stunning. And the speed limit is 90 kilometers, which is basically 56 miles an hour. I have one GPS that puts it in miles per hour and the other one puts it in kilometers. But anyway, we have, when we went out exploring yesterday afternoon, we have people just passing us,
Yes.
blowing past us. This is one of the most
If not
awe-inspiring
the most, yes.
places you're ever going to see. So take your time. But anyway, we've loved it. We've stayed in this campground 2 nights. We were gone most of the day yesterday. We did go up to Jasper. And
We got our banking situation.
yes, if you've been following us, you know that our credit cards were frozen and had been since we, hold on. We were just giving out information.
Yes.
Because we are camped in site number 3 here, which is gorgeous. We're right next to this massive pile of firewood.
And the little kiosk where
but-
you get the camping stuff.
Yeah. Now, one other thing we do want to mention, and that is phones. There is a phone here, and that's how we took care of our banking yesterday. We had tried the day before, but this is the first year that the U.S. has celebrated Juneteenth as a national holiday, June 19th. And so we weren't able to take care of it the day before, but yesterday we were able to call and do that. But many of these campgrounds do have credit card phones
Yes.
because it's almost like Canada is a closed cellular entity, and our phones use AT&T towers. They don't work here. They will in Alaska, from all we've heard.
Yes. We hope.
The Canadians have told us they'll work in Alaska, but they're not working here. When we were at Banff, and a nice lady was able to look up a phone number for me on her phone. She had Verizon, but she said her phone was not working. But she was in the visitor center able to
Yes.
log on and get some Wi-Fi and look up a phone number for me. So, on our way, and I'm going to show you this, on our way to the start of the Alcan, which is the Alaska-Canadian highway, we are going to stop. There are a couple of places that we have that we may be able to get a phone that has Canadian
SIM card.
service. A SIM card, yeah. That was another thing. I had signed up for Rogers while we were in Banff, but the phone was locked. I didn't know how to unlock it, so at a different visitor center, I was able to get on and find out how to unlock my phone. So now we'll see. But we really would like to have some sort
Yes.
of cellular coverage. But many places in Canada do not have any.
Yeah.
When you start the Icefields Parkway, there's a sign that says no cell coverage for the next 156 kilometers. In miles, that's a long way.
Yeah.
97 miles. So it's a long way. There's not cell service, and that's why many of these show where there is a pay phone. They take credit cards,
Yes.
or you can dial 800 numbers, because nobody has cell service
Right.
on these sections. Unless you have a satellite phone, you may get some. But that's just something to keep in mind, and that's actually lots of places in Canada. Near cities, you're going to have coverage, but the more remote areas, you're not.
I think you were in the process of
But I'm
showing
gonna
Grand Prairie.
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna show you when we leave here where we are headed and why. So, okay, so here we are at Jasper, and when we leave here, we are going to go east just a bit. Then we are going to come up to Grand Prairie, which is a large town. We may stop and see about getting a phone there. But then we come over to Dawson Creek, and Dawson Creek is where the Alcan starts. That is the road that actually goes up to Alaska. This may seem as though we've rambled, and that's because we have. Okay. But we are seeing a lot of things, a lot of places, and it's outstanding. It's amazing. But we also want to let you know about some bumps along the
Yes.
road. And, let's face it, on this trip, we've replaced the faucets in the kitchen and bathroom. We have gone days without being able, with having very, very, very little money. And I'll tell you a little secret. Even though the credit card didn't work, when we were at Lake Louise, they said they wanted a Visa number, and so we put it down. And if they run that thing enough, it'll go through.
Yes.
But we didn't really have any other options, and so we knew that we would get it straightened out. Hopefully, they've kept running that card. But, folks, would we change anything about this trip so far?
I don't think
I would
so.
prefer having credit cards working when we get here, but hey, they don't. Okay, one last thing, and I forgot to mention this, and that is fishing license.
1 day cost how much?
$13.50.
That's it.
But we were going to have a down day, completely down day, and I hadn't fished in a couple of weeks. So, but in the States, at the national parks, they do not sell license. You have to go to like a bait shop or somewhere and buy your license. And then there are specific regulations for fishing within national parks, etc. Here, when I asked at a different campground about fishing license, the guy said, "Oh, I can sell you one." Just the guy that was at the gate taking.
And at the information center in Jasper.
The ranger there is actually where I bought the license, and he gave me the regulations, etc. And he wanted to know how long I wanted it for. And I said, well, I want to know where all it's good for, because I was assuming like British Columbia, Alberta, whatever, because in the U.S., it's by state. Here, it's by watershed.
Yes.
Which really makes some sense, except if you're not here, you don't know where those are. But I just got one that was good for 1 day because it's where we are. And so it was a lot of fun. I had absolutely no luck, but I did have a really good time. And, to get out and explore and just, wow, the most amazing places I've ever fished. So anyway, we hit the road tomorrow. We are going to we hope to get to Dawson Creek. If we don't, we'll get to Grand Prairie. And if we don't get there, we'll get somewhere. And we will catch you up later. Thanks for watching Two Tired Teachers. And stay tuned as we head to Alaska on a budget.